1, and we should be going.
Welcome back to No Small Feat, a Fabula Ultima campaign set in the magical world of Midgard, a land of fairy tales and magic and fancy free. When last we left our stalwart heroes, they had entered the menagerie of Sir Peter Hammerschmidt, a merchant who got so rich that he also managed to buy a knighthood, and has built a fantabulous indoor zoo of various magical beasts, all kept behind magic force fields, and which he claims the first floor, which included such creatures as a fire-breathing Bonacon, a collection of deadly cockatrices, a griffin made of designer parts, the two-headed Amphisbaena, and many others. He claims these spectacular creatures are but the humblest and least impressive of his menagerie. Our heroes, of course, are slightly skeptical and more possibly just a little bit horrified at what they've seen so far, as some of these animals are not in the most stellar condition. It turns out rich wackos keeping rare exotic creatures inside their homes sometimes ends poorly, perhaps. But Peter Hammerschmidt presses on. Our heroes have no choice but to grin and bear it, with hopes that they might convince him to give them the crown jewel that they believe he might have in his possession. Also working for Sir Peter Hammerschmidt is Sir George Garston, the famous dragon slayer of, Sir George and the Dragon fame, if you will, who is begrudgingly working for Peter Hammerschmidt, as his dragon slaying activities do need to be financed, and unfortunately, Peter Hammerschmidt's one of the only people who's willing to shell out the cash. What will become of our stalwart heroes, and how will things in the menagerie get topsy-turvy? Find out on today's episode of No Small Feat. I hope you all enjoyed this room of monsters, because we're going to be moving immediately to the next floor. I think that's where we left off.
Yep.
And you will be starting at the bottom of this page.
Which side? Bottom.
Ooh.
Oh. Direct bottom.
Ooh.
Say bottom, I mean sexual position.
Oh,
Bottom.
No.
Don't want to be in that pit.
Okay. So,
Yeah, you might want to not be in that enclosure there, Edmund.
I found my little Hammerschmidt mini. Here he is. Oh, look at our boy, our lovable grandfather man who we all love.
He looks like a Candyland character.
When
Sorry.
DZ was coloring him, at one point I was like, with the creamy whites and browns, so he's kind of got a Neapolitan ice cream thing going, which, given that Hammond has that whole dramatic speech while they're eating the ice cream in Jurassic Park, felt really appropriate. And so then DZ just leaned fully into just making him Neapolitan. The man looks like ice cream.
I'm pretty sure the ice cream in that scene was in fact Neapolitan.
Peter Ham's just like, now here's the second of 3 floors of the menagerie, and here I have some more wonderful things to show you. See over here, and he points to this sort of deserty scrubland exhibit. Here I have the dreaded Chimera, just like the one from antiquity. Here, and he taps the invisible magic barrier of the tank with his cane, which makes it vibrate somewhat loudly, at which point, from behind the boulder, an enormous creature with 3 heads emerges, looking rather cantankerous, like someone woke it up from a nap. It has 2 enormous dragon-like wings and a serpentine tail with a spade. Its hind legs are hooved like those of a goat, while its front legs end in the paws of a lion. And its 3 heads, one is a goat, one is a dragon, and one is a lion head. And they're all right at the front of the animal. And Peter Hammerschmidt says, now, Many people have tried to put chimeras in their menagerie, but most of them don't get the authenticity of mine. As you can see, mine is just like the chimera of antiquity. Looks exactly like it for every detail. I spared no expense. Charles, you know that is bullshit.
Yeah, except Charles walked past everyone.
That's fair. Stay with the group, my dear fellow. Don't want anyone to think you're one of my loose specimens.
There's a derisive snort at that.
I'll go make sure he's not quite alone. It's a lovely chimera, absolutely gorgeous. Look at the fangs on that boy.
And when Montblanc walks up, Charles doesn't look away from where he's staring at the thing in the next exhibit, and he's just like, that thing is completely situated wrong. The goat's supposed to come out of its hips or its shoulders.
Of course, Charles, you know why you are looking at this exhibit in particular. For the creature sitting in this exhibit with its leopard-spotted feline body, eagle wings, serpent tail, and very, very human face, is the Sphinx. The very same Sphinx that led you astray. She may look worse for wear, her human-ish hair disheveled, her necklace stripped from her and replaced with a metal collar. Her fur more matted and greasy than it was, as if she has not been able to fully take care of herself the way cats are prone to. But it is unmistakably the Sphinx you knew from your hometown.
Charles, not quite sure what to do.
She has, of course, noticed you. In fact, she's looked at you since the moment you caught sight of her. And she holds your gaze. Although her eyes have always been mostly hidden by the bangs, and her disheveled state in captivity has not changed this one whit. If anything, her hair is longer and covers more of her face. But you can tell from her body language and the positioning of her ears and her head that she is staring directly at you, as if waiting for you to initiate the conversation.
And Charles just cut out just quiet enough that just her and Montblanc could hear, just be like, I wasn't expecting to see you until I got home.
She says nothing in reply.
And Charles just kind of looks down at Montblanc, over him towards Hammersmith, and then back to Montblanc and goes, we can't let them stay in these cages any longer.
Oh, no, I'm already formulating it.
Ah, isn't she a magnificent specimen? Just like the one from that motherfucker story.
Mediterra.
Yes, exactly like the one from Mediterra.
How'd you come about this?
You know, it was rather a fortunate thing. I had heard that there was a great show in Grimhelm, and I went to see, and it turns out some fellows had captured this creature in the wild, and they had been hauling it about from town to town, putting it on display, making it do tricks, and it performed quite well, and I offered them a tidy sum of money, more than they had ever seen in their life, and now it's a prized possession of mine. And I must say, they are almost as intelligent as legends would have you believe. I mean, of course, like all the creatures in my menagerie, it's only faking when it says speech, parroting it, if you will. But it does it very good. Why don't you sing for us, Kitty? Sing for us. And the Sphinx stares at you, Charles. It doesn't look at Hammerschmidt. In fact, it pointedly does not give him attention. But then slowly it opens its mouth and mutters in monotone. Alas, my love, you do me wrong to put me off discourteously, for I have loved thee for so long, delighted in your beauty. Yes, very good, very good. I'm thinking of trying to get someone to see if they can coach the thing to sing a bit more in key. But it is rather impressive still, isn't it?
Yes, of course. Montblanc nods, forcing a bit of a smile.
Of course, it pales in comparison to our central exhibit in this half of the room. And he points to this somewhat pungent marsh that takes up a very good section of this part of the floor. Now, I'm sure you all know how people say it is impossible to keep a dragon caged. And he taps his cane against the invisible barrier that holds this marsh apart from the rest of the room. And you see what looks like a lightning bolt in miniature trickles down from the ceiling and strikes the water, at which point there's like a huge rumbling hiss. The water violently shakes and then splits open as out emerges the most enormous serpent you have seen thus far in your lives. A massive snake-like figure with the pointed tail spade of a dragon and 3 long heads with cruel jaws. Behold, just like the creature from Lana itself, the Hydra! Now, I know that according to legends, the Hydra has 9 heads, and I have talked with George about maybe cutting 3, some of them off so that we could get some more of them, but for some reason he thinks that would be some sort of cruelty. I think he would rather like to have more heads, but I'm not the Dragon Slayer, I suppose.
I'm going to kill this man. Out of character. I'm going to murder him in his sleep.
Yeah.
Montblanc's like, I have to hold out till dark. I have to hold out till dark. I can't break it now. I can't break it now.
It's a good thing
Charles.
Trump is not next to him, because he would just be like, yes. Yeet! Into
Creature-
the swamp.
The creature is very clearly agitated. Its 3 heads are whipping about in a fury the way a person might when they've just been bitten by like a mosquito. Like it's trying to figure out what shot sent that little lightning bolt to shock it. Its tail spade is whipping back and forth with enough speed that were someone in the way of it, that spade could very well just cut their head clean off. The tremendous power of this lake dragon is immediately apparent, and it's currently penned in this man's house.
Yeah, knowing hydras from just old. Were there hydras fielded in the Mediterra armies?
No.
Okay.
Dragons...
I'm sure.
Like
there were stories
a
about 'em.
thing about dragons universal to Midgheim, dragons do not take orders. Dragons
Makes sense.
do not follow instructions. Dragons
Looks at
do what
Scrunt.
the fuck they
that checks
want.
out. Looks at Scrunt. Yeah, that checks out.
Like, the only creatures dragons in Mediterra ever obeyed were fucking gods. And even then, the gods' orders were basically just like, hey, you're gonna live here, right? Can I just put something here and you take care of it? That was the extent of the orders they had to follow. Dragons do not like to be caged. They do not like to be told what to do. To try and do so is, according to all common knowledge, incredible folly.
Yeah.
Before we go further, I would like to backtrack a little bit because there's 2 exhibits here to the other side of the Hydra that I would like you to see.
And as people are starting to walk away, Charles does linger, kind of still staring at the Sphinx, but then he looks to both Mont Blanc and Bright Eyes and goes, "This man is going to get so many people killed if we don't do something before something bad happens."
I already have the formulations of a plan. Do not worry.
Will we kill him?
That part is optional. I think it would be more ironic if it were the cockatrices, but I am leaving it open to any of the denizens here.
You get that reference.
Why dirty our hands?
I mostly only have finished sprites for these guys because I spent a lot of time working on that All Your Ruins cover. I wasn't able to do a lot of coloring work in the last couple of weeks. But DZ did color a couple of them, the big ones as well. And for this next one, he made a really pretty coloration, so I'd like you to see. Hammerschmidt gestures to this creature, which is roughly the size of a deer. He says, "This, of course, is a mythical questing beast, as the druids of old used to make to test the finest hunters. A creature that is impossible to track down and catch in a hunt. Unless, of course, you have a wizard breed them from an egg, and then you just put the egg in a cage to begin with." And then you see,
I've heard of this one.
Yeah, you see this beautiful creature with the head and tail of a serpent, the horns and legs of a deer, and the body of a leopard. It is a gorgeous chimera, and though it has been fed and provided with an environment within its enclosure that suits most of its physical needs, you can see it's pacing with the nervous energy of like a big dog that was meant to like run, being kept in an apartment its entire life. Like it's just it is constantly pacing like it's a creature that is used to having long, wide expanses with which to traverse, and instead it spent its entire life in a tiny little pen. Beautiful, isn't it? People would spend their entire lives just trying to get a glimpse of such a creature. And here I can look at one whenever I want.
Indeed. It has such beautiful colorations.
Yeah, it's more beautiful than I ever imagined. It's the hunter's ultimate dream.
Yes, and I didn't have to hunt at all. I just had one bred for me. It's pretty wonderful.
Sounds okay.
Moving on. Next on his wonderful wild trip, you see.
That was
At
just
first-
mighty.
At first, you think that what you're looking at is merely a large snake, until part of it turns on the rock that it's basking on, and you see that it's only a snake from the waist down. From the waist up, it is more or less a human woman, albeit with a nest of snakes for hair, and as it turns to look at you with a bandage around its eyes, you realize that it has been blinded. What you look at here is the monstrous Medusa, a species of snake woman from Mediterra. They can, according to legend, they can turn a person to stone with but a glance, which, of course, poses a very tricky problem in figuring out how to cage such a creature. But we found out, with some research, that it is the combination of all the snake heads and the 2 human eyes that allows the Medusa to petrify its prey. So, we had an option. We could cut some of that hair loose, so that way it can't petrify, or we could remove the fairly ordinary humanish eyes. We went with that option because the hair is much more impressive.
I see.
When you look at this creature, its skin and its scales all have this sort of dull complexion, like a snake that has stuck in its shed too often. It's stunted, it's malnourished. Its face is wrought in a piteous expression of misery, and the more you stare at the bandage over where its eyes can be, the more you realize that they are just hollow sockets beneath it, and the more that sort of begins to revolt you.
Yeah, Joe's not doing so good, guys.
Mm-hmm.
Oh no, there is a. We should probably move on before we just immediately dunk this man into the Hydra pen.
Well, the thing is, you can't get into the pens. There's a magic force field.
That's a person on top,
We
isn't
can.
it?
We can.
Oh, no.
Except-
I can understand the confusion. It definitely has some human attributes, but all of these creatures are mere beasts.
Oh, sorry. Go.
I think there's more nuance to that division than you think.
Certainly understand, given your persuasion, but they're not cursed people. They were born this way. And that means they're ours to exploit. Come!
Ooh, he's-
Oh,
Grunt.
okay, Bright Eyes, please. We can't stab him today. We can't stab him today.
Now, I know what you're thinking. One dragon, that's so impressive, Mr. Hammerschmidt. In which I would say, Sir Hammerschmidt, if you please. But what's more impressive in keeping one dragon cage? How about two? He taps the cage again, which wasn't even necessary because this creature was already out and about. But another little shot comes, and this enormous flying beast lets out a horrific shriek. You see a blue and tan-skinned wyvern, a dragon with 2 hind legs, 2 wings, and no arms, flutter about. This one has a particularly large head with almost beak-like jaws, and a thin whip-like tail with a tailspade. Clearly designed particularly for life, like in the sea, eating lots of fish. With a very aerodynamic body capable of carrying it across vast distances. Yes, a largemouth wyvern, or so Sir George tells me. I suppose that name is accurate enough. It does have a very large mouth, doesn't it? Easy thing to take care of. Loves to eat fish. Now our next exhibit. Out of my way, please. Yes, thank you. Our next exhibit's going to be a bit disappointing, I'm afraid. Haven't figured out how to get this damn thing to come out. But we'll give it a try. And he bangs his staff. He doesn't just tap it. He flat out bangs it and makes like dozens of those little tiny electric bolts pour into the lake. And though they pour in, nothing happens. He keeps tapping it for like a solid minute. The lake begins to like steam begins to rise off the top of the lake, but nothing comes out. I say lake, it's a pond because of the size, but still, he's like, I promise you, I do have a water horse in there. Damn thing is just so frustratingly shy.
Sure, it doesn't really appreciate being electrified that much.
Well, if it didn't appreciate it, it would come out, wouldn't it? We'll figure out something. And maybe I can rig up some sort of automaton to go in there and chase the thing out of its hole. Well, maybe we'll be lucky later. Come, I have one more thing on this floor to show you before we get to the real treasure. Now, I know what you're thinking. Dragons. Magnificent. And you have 2 of them, and I'll say, you think only 2. But you're like, the dragons aren't the only magnificent creature in the world. What about that sacred bastion of beauty and purity, the unicorn? Well, I have one of these as well. Behold! And you see a creature with a long ox-like tail, a live body, deer-like limbs, horse-like head that sports a broken cranial horn. I understand. I'm sure you're thinking, well, it's a unicorn, yes, but kind of spoiled, isn't it, without the whole horn? And this I must say is the problem of subpar contractors. It turns out there aren't very many gifted unicorn hunters the way there are dragon hunters like George Garston. And the people who brought this creature in for me apparently couldn't do it without breaking the damn thing's horn. At which point I might as well just put a horse in there, but it's still an impressive creature. And you know, it'll be a good placeholder until I can get one intact, and then we can sell this one for parts.
How very shrewd of you.
Is the questing beast the only one here you hatched and raised?
No, there's a couple of others. The griffins I had bred for me. The griffin and the hippogriff, that is. Most of the creatures on the first floor. I think the only one up there that I really caught would have been the Catoblepas, the Hooga, the Grotesque and the Hunky Punk were caught as well. And I think the Amphisbaena. Found the Bonacon with a person who had found it in the normal cow herd and didn't like it. Breathing fire. The Basilisk, I found a trader who had them as eggs. We hatched them. Cockatrices were bred by one of my staff wizards, same with the Fletter worms and the Drats. Really wish I could call them pucks. But most of these have had to been wild caught. There are no unicorn breeders out there, I'm afraid. Although perhaps, maybe that could be another use for this one. If I get a good unicorn of the opposite sex, we could breed them. That would be very lucrative. We could sell most of the young for parts, keep a couple. Yes, that's a good idea.
Montblanc is holding back both Charles and Brad at this point. Like, hold on. Let him cook. Let him stew in his own.
I'm sure you're all wondering, well, this is marvelous. Better than any menagerie I've ever seen or ever will see again beyond yours. It couldn't possibly get better, eh? Well, let me tell you. You haven't seen shit. Let's go to the third floor.
I mean, just quietly, Charles can't help himself. I'm sure if we waited long enough, we would have seen flaming shit with the Bonacao.
Top of the page or bottom of the page?
Gee.
You are going to be at the top.
Oh, we're in it now.
Oh, I love this.
You are immediately greeted by a sort of rocky exhibit, not too dissimilar from the mountains nearby this town, that's around this town. And running about, chasing like a couple of stray chickens, are 6 dragons, roughly the size of Charles, running on 2 hind legs with no forelegs and no wings. So they've just got the 2 hind legs. There are 6 of the creatures. They're chasing chickens. The minute they see you, and particularly Hammerschmidt, they stop what they're hunting, and they watch you very closely. Now, Sir George tells me these creatures are called Sir Malcolm's Clever Tasselworm. And I must say, they do seem rather intelligent. Not capable of speech, of course. Most dragons aren't. But very, very smart. They've actually proved rather difficult to keep penned until we really fine-tuned the runic work on our magic spells here. But they are very entertaining creatures. Yeah, I'm going to press the chicken button. And he He presses like a little like
Oh no.
indented stone, and a chicken just teleports into the place. At which point, the tatzelworms who've been staring at you notice the chicken. They briefly turn their eyes back to you, and then they all immediately rush at once and just tear it apart to eat it.
Oh no.
I could put a cow in there later. It's really quite a sight to see. They'll chase the damn thing around when it's got its guts hanging out. It's just wonderful.
I see. Mont Blanc says, like, tightening his grip on.
And then, now, if we're
I
doing
see
a count,
five.
that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 dragons! 8 dragons! Isn't that amazing? But what if I told you there's even more?
So, just as an aside,
Yeah?
I only count 5 in the tank.
One's probably sleeping.
Mm,
Yeah.
like, trying to say Charles would have said there's only 5 in there, but I couldn't tell if that was like I just wasn't seeing like there's supposed to be 6, or if there's just like
I mean, it could be
Pointedly.
possible, but I just forgot to put one in there.
It also could be possible, but that the Lost World Raptor is currently missing from the bunch, and I don't trust like that.
yeah. I mean, him talking about chasing and disemboweling cows, the cow man is starting to feel a little uncomfortable, guys.
This creature should be familiar to all of you, and you see grazing in a pasture not unlike the one that you found it in that little canyon is the Paluda that you guys caught. And Bright Eyes, you feel the cat on your shoulder immediately perk up and begin meowing in a very low tone. The Paluda looks at the cat, and it seems to almost nod. And Hammersmith says, "Fascinating. I never thought to bring cats to them. Maybe we could teleport some in. Maybe that's its favorite food."
Nice.
Or perhaps they have a symbiosis of sorts, where in their native habitats, maybe cats work with them to keep out smaller pests.
Unlikely. Everyone knows dragons are things of pure chaos and destruction. They don't form friendships, even amongst themselves. The Paluda, of course, is quite amazing. There are only a few Paluda species. They're a type of... I hate that this is what they're called because it doesn't make them sound particularly spectacular, but lesser drakes, the dragons with 4 legs and no wings. They've got these marvelous armored hides. I've already got 17 different people bidding on this creature's carcass when it kicks the bucket. Apparently the armor you can make out of Paluda skin is magnificent. Well, that's dragon number 9. Before we go to the last 2, I'd like to take your eyes at this exhibit. And you see another sort of swampy exhibit with deep greenish water. Now, this creature is not a dragon, but it's almost as spectacular as one. And he taps, lightning falls down, hits the water. And you see a crocodilian head emerge from the water with jaws long enough to eat a man whole. And then a huge, like several platy sails of skin flip up from its back in a threat display, and it lets out a large rumbling growl that makes the water vibrate and droplets of it dance in the air as it stares at you all with hatred in its green eyes. This is what the Selpictish call an athank. It's a type of large reptilian serpent that can control the waters with such great strength that it can create deadly tidal waves that wash everything away and floods that sweep entire towns under the water. And I have one in my house. And he smiles with great pride, as a man who thinks he has caged a storm would smile.
I think everyone's just kind of exchanging glances with every one of these exhibits. Just,
Pretty much, yeah.
All right, next here, dragon number 10. And you guys see a very large, slightly larger than the Paluda dragon, with 4 big stout legs, a pair of functional-looking wings, a short neck, a big stout head, and 2 big curving horns from its brows. This is an ox dragon. Forget the exact species, but look at this glorious creature. So magnificent. George told me. We'll ask George about it when we go upstairs. It's a magnificent beast, though. Surely you must think that's the largest dragon we've seen yet. Sir Peter Hammerschmidt, 10 dragons! A whole 10 dragons! That's more than any person could ever
9.
hope to have. 10? To which I say, I like to go beyond 10. Let me show you the real prize. The true crown jewel of my collection. You find a large exhibit, very much like the one of the Tatzelworms, and it is filled with boulders, these great, big, enormous gray rocks. He says, this one you can't shock. It's like the water horse. It refuses to respond to that, but I know how to get its goat. And he presses a button, and a goat appears inside the place. Come on now, snack time! And at that point, one of the large boulders in the exhibit unfurls. What was once gray stone begins to melt into red and brown and yellow scales. Lumpy, featureless parts of rock split and divide and segment into legs and a tail and a neck and a head. And a creature much like the Tatzelworms you saw before, but much, much bigger. So big that the only living thing you've seen larger than it is the ravening beast. Stalks forward, looks at you all with the most contempt you have seen of any of the residents of this menagerie, and with great ferocity reduces the goat to a red smear between its fanged jaws. Isn't she gorgeous? Sir Peter Hammerschmidt says. She single-handedly funded this menagerie, you know.
I can understand why.
It's quite simple, really. I was out hunting in the mountains, and of course we had heard of the Terra Tatzelworm of Summerlee for so long. People have always talked about seeing it over the ridges, but we were just so lucky to find the creature asleep in its den. Can you imagine? This magnificent beast just caught unawares. So I ordered my men to immediately capture the creature, to keep it restrained. Lost 4 of them in the process, but luckily for us, the thing was very exhausted, very weak. I don't think it had eaten in quite a while. And as we dragged it out, we found that beneath where it had been laying was an indent in the earth, and deep inside that indent, do you know what we found buried beneath the loose dirt? Eggs!
Oh.
Eggs! A clutch of 20 eggs! I couldn't believe it. Not only had I captured a live dragon, but I had dragon eggs, some of the most valuable magical ingredients wizards could ever buy. Well, I quickly sold those all off. A couple of people wanted to eat some. Most people just wanted to break them for the shells and the yolk to use in various spells and enchantments. And with that money, I not only built I got gnomes to build this entire menagerie so that they could house this creature and several others. It funded the whole endeavor. It's all thanks to this magnificent beast. And the Terror Tatzelworm is looking and watching as he regales you all of this, and you realize there is a cruel and utterly furious intelligence in her eyes as it's clear she understands every single word.
Oh.
You
Is she
You
clocking
sold
our
it.
reactions?
Like she is red hot pissed. I don't think she is looking at you guys as individuals. She's looking at you as the things that gawk at her and listen to this thing brag about capturing her and selling her children.
The things
You-
on the other side of the glass.
And by the way, everyone get your Fabula point because you've met the villain for this arc, mechanically speaking. The Terror Tatzelworm.
Mechanically speaking.
Mechanically speaking.
Oh, after leveling up, what should
You-
your experience be? 4?
I think 6 is what we just.
6 is what it sounded like, yeah.
Okay.
You didn't even think to keep the eggs?
Well, no. I only need one of this species. Trying to get a... And though there is a temptation, now that you mention it, of how it would be to have an entire menagerie full of them, but I think the diversity actually really helps it. And to be quite frank, I needed the funds. Capturing the creature while it was weak was easy, but it struggled quite a bit. There were some times I was worried it might break loose before the menagerie was ready for it. And I really did need those funds, and it really helped boost my fortune in many ways.
My computer dropped me.
So yeah, it was basically the summary of what of his explanation is that it was a funds issue. He's rich, but he's not Scrooge McDuck rich.
I mean, even Jurassic Park had its sponsors.
It's true.
It cost a lot to get this menagerie built, and then more to fill it. And those eggs went a long way towards funding it.
That would explain why the mother worm was so tired and malnourished.
Yeah, like a lot of reptile single parents, she had spent weeks abstaining from eating to guard her clutch. Took 7 years since we caught the thing to get it up to snuff here, but really is worth it. And here I will show you one last thing before we go back to the top floor to discuss some pressing business I have with you.
She's been stuck here for 7 years?
It doesn't surprise me. No Barnaby?
And as you guys move around, she not only watches, but she follows along. Like she walks around watching you all. I mean, her eyes are mainly on Hammerschmidt, but they do occasionally flicker upon the rest of you. Hammerschmidt comes to this little alcove at the back of the Terror Tatzelworm's enclosure, where you see two big, heavy steel doors guarded by knights, as well as a wizard in gray-blue robes with dark skin and goggles, who is currently looking at all of the runes written on the sides of the walls and the enclosures with very discerning scrutiny. Hard at work, I see. Ransacor? The wizard does not immediately answer him. We have guests, you know. Guests. Buddy, it's your boss. And then Peter just bonks the wizard on the back of the head of his cane. Ah! Sir Hammerschmidt. Sorry, I was, making sure everything's working right. It's a very complicated spell work we've got going on here. I don't want any of these things getting out. Oh, Ranzikor, you worry too much. You've had this thing up and running for so long now. Yes, and if even the slightest thing goes wrong, it won't go wrong. We've paid so much money. All right, I'm gonna go check the upstairs. Oh, Ranzikor. He's really the genius behind all of this. I don't have a head for magic spells personally, but Ranzikor has made sure this whole thing is feasible. He's the one who makes all these force fields work and teleports in the foods. We don't have to worry about our staff getting eaten by the creatures. Really wonderful. Well worth the money. Would you like to see the inner workings?
Yeah.
Sure.
Of course.
And Peter takes you to this room, which is filled with just all manner of magical devices, huge giant gems that radiate with power, tons of runes, various mechanisms made of stone and metal that twist and turn in strange gyrating patterns. Don't touch any of it. It's all very delicate, and whenever I fucks with it, Ranzikor just blows his shit. But this is the heart of my menagerie, really. It's what keeps the whole thing running, keeps my creatures fed and caged, and allows us all to view the wonders of nature where they should be, at the convenience of those with the wealth to cage it.
Just making me hate this guy so bad. So bad.
I see.
It's a marvel of spellcrafting. Ranzikor, don't tell him this because he might ask for a raise, but Ranzikor really is a very gifted mage.
I can see by the intricacies of the spellwork here.
Yeah, that's enough of that. And he leads you all out of the room, and he points to the next vault. And this, of course, is where I keep all of my excess money. After all, what better place to have all of one's wealth than guarded by the most fearsome dragon in one's possession?
I suppose that makes sense.
There's some logic to that thought, yes.
I know what you're thinking. So, Peter Hammerschmidt, you're one of the richest men in all of Anglesex. Surely I could see some of your wealth, to which I say, no! Let's go back upstairs.
I wouldn't have the foggiest. I'm more interested in the creatures myself, good sir.
All right. As he leads you guys through the menagerie, when you pass through the second floor, you see Sir George Garston standing next to the Hydra, surrounded by several noble people, and body language could not convey frustration and exhaustion more severely than George's, as he plays the part of way overqualified zoo field tourist guide, telling all these people about the animals and answering inane questions, and kind of looking like he just wishes someone would fucking kill him. And Peter laughs and smiles and waves at him, and George gives a very half-hearted wave in his fucking dragon plate armor, working very hard not to stab one of the noble people who's being too close to him. Before you guys
see first floor.
And then you go to the first floor. You have to go to the second floor to go to the first floor. You return to the first floor, where Peter is with you with all the animals. He says, "So, George told me all about you chaps. And I have to say, I am impressed. Bringing a Paluda down by yourselves? You told me of your great fighting prowess, your intelligence, the way you wrestled with the creature for hours before finally exhausting it to the point of bringing it in. Absolutely amazing. And I was so amazed I hadn't even heard of you that I did some looking into it myself. And I think you could all be lucrative employees of Hammerschmidt Enterprises.
It is a kind and generous offer.
I want you to think of it now. When first he told me of the nature of two of you, and he looks at Charles and Edmund, my first thought, of course, was exhibits. But of course, such a thing would be crude. Of course, you are people much as I. But he told me of your adventures, and specifically that you've encountered the most marvelous creature yet discovered. What the people are calling the Ravening Beast.
Nope. Gotta put my hoof down. Nope.
Wouldn't it be marvelous? Wouldn't it be marvelous, though, if we could capture the creature rather than kill it, so people could see this marvel of nature? I could build a 4th floor.
You would need an entire 4th floor at the bare minimum.
The beast can swallow the terror in a bite. It
Absolutely
nearly
marvelous!
Okay, so you got the wrong thing from that.
Charles, don't tell him on the monster.
No, listen. Charles, you're the cowman, correct?
My actual eyebrow in real life twitched hearing it.
Charles, you're looking for your home. I am connected to merchants not only all throughout Anglesix, but throughout Midgahheim itself. I can find it for you. Edmund, you've been cursed? Or something?
Yes.
Ransacor
Yes,
is a magnificent mage, and he knows several other mages. I'm sure that if they put their heads together, they could remove that curse easy peasy.
Well, yeah, I guess I could see the benefits of learning more about his magical skills. Edmund tries to take a look at the others.
And I'm blanking on Bright Eyes' name again, god damn it.
Elfhild.
Elfield. Your family has been worried sick about you. They have hired various mercenaries to bring you back home. I can convince them that they don't need to, that you should be free to adventure to your heart's content for whatever reason. Mont Blanc, you are a studier of beasts. What better place than to study them here, where you can watch them for hours, completely certain in your own safety? And Scrunt, I like your name.
I think Grunt is Beerbead. He hasn't spoken in a while.
Well, he said he'd be quiet. What do you say, friends? Why don't you join my workforce? And together, we can create the greatest menagerie this world will ever see. And at that moment, the magic lights which have lit up all these subterranean rooms go out.
Of course.
And there is a immediate murmur of rising panic. And Hammerschmidt himself blanches in the shadows. What's going on? The lights flicker on, and as they do, the invisible magic force fields become visible as they deteriorate into electricity, sputter, fizzle, and extinguish. And what happens next happens all at once. The Katoba Pass is the first to notice that the force fields have gone out. And it looks at the Bonacon, and this omnivore, which has been given nothing but grass to graze on, takes its long, enormous tree trunk legs and gallops at a speed that a creature so large should be incapable of, crushing well, you shouldn't be here, Clara. You're gone by now. Crushing two tourists in the process before immediately swinging its head down and biting the Bonacon in the back before it knows what's happening, lifting it up and completely devouring the middle of it, so its legs and head and tail just drop to the ground.
Oh.
Oh shit.
That spooks the Amphisbaena, which runs hey, stop that. Get out of it. Stop. God, you're such a big fucker. The Amphisbaena immediately slithers out of its tank in a panic, and while its one head is just trying to get the fuck out, another grabs this guy and pulls him into the Flutterworm tank, where the Amphisbaena wraps around him and begins eating him. The Flutterworms freak out and fly to the top of their tank. The Drats freak out and fly to the top of their tank. The Griffins see all this go down and decide to fly to the very top of the ceiling, where they will not come down. The Grotesque sees all this, and with true Agamid lizard tenacity, decides promptly to ignore it. The Cockatrices scatter, and no one can tell where they go. The Hunky Punk chases two of the people down, through past you, downstairs. The Hunky Punk chases them after, and then runs back out and hides in the Griffin's tank when he sees what's going on downstairs. The Hooga tries to corral some of the guests away from the Katoba Pass, but they all run because the thing looks like a big fucking dragon. And also in the confusion, the spinning basilisks scatter, get past you, and disappear.
Oh no.
You are left in a room with a very happy-looking Katoba Pass that is chewing on what was left of the Bonacon. Several fairly harmless creatures, all in a state of panic. One guy getting eaten by a two-headed snake. And Peter Hammerschmidt seeing his dream die immediately.
Look, the Mont Blanc and then the Katoba Pass. Are they omnivores?
Yes, they're omnivores. They're incredibly voracious omnivores, and I was just keeping my mouth quiet.
Oh.
So, he's the big problem. Though, looking behind him, I don't like the fact that the Hunky Punk immediately turned around. Because that means...
there's a Hydra down there.
There's one other problem. The door to upstairs to out of the menagerie, which is a solid sheet of rock, closes.
Oh boy.
That
And
answers my question on security.
Hammerschmidt goes completely pale, and he's like, "Oh no, that's our security protocol." Oh dear.
So, turns out we didn't have to break them out ourselves. Charles just says openly.
Charles, we gotta get the plan into action right away. You gotta talk to the Sphinx about teleporting all these monsters away.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's an option, I suppose.
Okay, calm down, Peter. This is fixable. We need Ranzicor or Clara. They both know how to work the machine downstairs. Easy peasy, easy fix.
Are you an idiot? It's obviously one of those two sabotage everything.
No, they're loyal, valuable employees. I pay them a generous pittance.
Well, who else would have the ability to sabotage your magic?
I don't know. Maybe Ranzicor was right. Maybe the runes were wearing out a little bit. I should have had another test, I suppose. Oh no.
Charles, I have a very stupid plan.
Yes.
I'm gonna go try and talk to the Katoba Pass. I'll be back.
Wait, what?
To go around, dude. All the fences are down. You can just walk straight there.
That's absolutely true. Mont Blanc has had, practically since character creation for the purpose of only talking to Barnaby, the ability to talk to creatures of plant, creatures of beast, monster, and plant species, which, for the most part, covers a lot of the creatures in the menagerie.
All of them. All of them would count.
All of them would count.
Yeah.
He's going to go past the Hooga and be like, "Hi, I got a plan. Don't worry.
Okay, good.
It might be a stupid plan, but a stupid plan is better than no plan.
All right. Let me know if I can help.
Can you
just
talk to him?
perfect.
Can you talk to him?" And he points to the.
I'd rather not.
Yeah, that's fine, bud. No worries.
Okay, I'm gonna hang out with this guy. Hey, how are you doing? Are you friendly? The grotesque looks at the Hooga, and then just continues sunbathing.
So the lights are back on, right?
Yeah, the lights came back on. At least that failsafe worked.
Okay. This is probably the dumbest thing Mont Blanc has ever done in his life. But
So,
what is
oh,
it?
just real quick, this guy's dead, right?
He's dead. Yeah, he's pretty fucking dead.
Okay.
He's gonna make, excuse me, Mr. Catoblepass.
The Katoba Pass is eating and does not react to you talking.
That's absolutely fair. It looks like they're only feeding you grass, the poor sods.
Meat.
So there's a giant stone door over there. If you can get out there, you can go back to the mountains where there's plenty of meat.
Okay. And it continues eating the Bonacon.
So you have fun finishing that, and then when you're done with that, try and get through that door, would you?
Okay.
There's a whole bunch of fellas downstairs, including a very angry terror tassel worm, and I wouldn't want you to get hurt because of that.
And the Katoba Pass pauses and looks at you. What?
Oh, pointing back in Hammerschmidt's direction, this fella decided to kidnap a dragon when it laid eggs.
When you say the word dragon, the Catoblepus's eyes widen.
Yeah, he's not the smartest bulb in the box. So once you're done eating, if you want to get the door open, or get out that way, or find a way out,
And it begins to pound the ground with its legs. And you feel like the floor begin to crack and buckle a little bit.
Ooh.
it's okay. It's okay. They don't
Kill dragon! Kill dragon!
No, bud. If you try to do that, you'll kill everybody, including yourself.
Oh.
We're trying to get everybody outside, and then when it's outside, you're free to do what you need to do.
Eat more meat.
Eat more meat.
He nods and eats some of the people he stepped on earlier.
The fact that doesn't disturb me as much as it should is a worrying
To
sign.
be fair, they died the minute those legs came down on them.
Well,
Like,
yeah.
it was just like fucking... It was like a fucking Play-Doh person.
But it's like Mont Blanc's just watching this with like, oh, well, he's eating now. So once you're done eating your meat, see if you can't smash your way out. Okay? Thank you, bud.
Like a tomato under a hydraulic press.
Yeah. Or a person. Now, when you speak to animals, does it come out as animal sounds or words others can hear?
I've flavored it as when he talks to beasts and other monsters and whatnot, it has, like, he's talking like a monster.
Okay.
Because I don't think monsters would bother learning human speech otherwise. It's beast speech.
Peter looks at you very concerned. What did you tell the brute?
Don't eat more people, and try and stay calm.
Oh.
It's like talking to a horse.
That's Can horses understand speech?
Some
He
of them.
pauses, shrugs. It's kind of like a vibe thing. Where, you know, when you, like, soothe a horse, they don't understand the words, but they understand the intention. But, like, he looks back, that is a Catoplopass. We probably shouldn't make him mad. Let's go see how the others are doing, because Garston's alone with the Hydra, and I'm worried.
Yeah,
All right.
I wanna get down there.
Downstairs, I will lead from the back.
Why doesn't the security system block off the other floors?
I don't know. Not much point in that, is there? We've kept them from the surface where they can't get to the town. Ideally, we'd keep them trapped here, starve them out for a couple of weeks, and then open the doors, find the survivors, get them back in their pens, and repopulate the menagerie.
Mont Blanc leans over to Bright Eyes and like, okay, so now's the time. Like, okay, maybe it's the next floor, but like, you know what I mean.
He accidentally gets knocked into a cage or something? Maybe? I don't know.
If we, like, genuinely, if we find the cockatrices, it would be so funny.
Ooh.
Charles looms over the two of them. He's just like, I'll help.
Good.
Oh, it's loading weird.
Oh, Death's Blood.
No, that's Fog of War.
We're not meant to see
Oh.
what's up there yet.
Is it just pale white for you guys?
Oh, that might be in a loading area then.
Okay.
Maybe I shouldn't speak so confidently before I hear the whole thing.
I mean, I think you're right, at least the aspect of it. Well, I'm not going to risk restarting. I can understand enough.
It's not like D&D where positioning matters.
Yeah.
You go downstairs. It's a little different than when you last entered this floor. It's a lot darker because some of the lights came back on, but not all of them.
That's a big
And,
pelvis.
you know, the plus side, the questing beast is no longer pacing back and forth. Instead, it's hiding, you know, in the back corner of its tank. Clearly sensing that even though the fence is down, that now is probably not the best time to go running around. It's still within a larger cage than its old cage. In the Chimera tank, you see the Chimera is currently roaring at something, and it turns out that something is the blonde lady in waiting of Peter Hammerschmidt. Clara Saddle is at the top of one of the boulders in the Chimera tank, clearly not by choice, cornered by a dangerous creature of legend. Clara! If you can get down from there, we could use your help in turning back on the power. Otherwise, continue distracting it with your fleshy body so that we can keep it in this pen when we turn the power back on.
Charles, let's go get her out of the bed.
Yeah.
Edmund, let's just come on.
All right. Do you got a plan to get this woman out of the Chimera pen?
The plan is...
I can freeze the ground beneath it and turn it into ice, and then it will slip, and that will buy us the time.
It has wings, though.
Yes, but it is clearly stalking, and it is not going to expect the ground to be ice.
I think we gotta beat it up. It can just go anywhere it wants in this floor now.
True. I don't want to hurt him. It's not his fault he's here.
Just pick one of the heads and take it out on that. Personally, I hate cats, so I'll just target the lion.
Says the cat man.
Are we initiating a fight? Is that what's happening?
Bright Eyes is going to run over here, jump into the cage,
Oh,
and wave
okay.
at it.
All three heads of the Chimera turn to you because you're not on a rock. It
Get out!
does the cat butt wiggle. Clara doesn't need to be told twice. She fucking jumps with an impressive leap and gets behind you guys as the Chimera does the little cat butt wiggle in preparation to pounce.
It's basically she's just gonna run around this fucking thing until she can jump back out.
All right, how about a Dex/Intelligence to give the Chimera a merry chase? Or Dex/Insight, I should say. God damn it. Fuck you,
Does
Dean.
anyone have any catnip they can throw at it?
Yeah, can we invoke?
You want to invoke a bond on that one, Bright Eyes?
I would like to.
Or a trait?
Let's see. I don't know if I have any traits that would allow me to. Well,
good or-
maybe I've been wandering around for a while, dodging apparently bounty hunters that I didn't know about.
Can we do the
And wild beasts.
Yeah, so I'll invoke that sort of like.
I feel like you guys have had enough times when you had to run from the ravening beast where I could justify letting you invoke that for a Fabula point.
Okay, I will use a Fabula point then. I forgot to put up the cheat sheet, so what exactly does that get me? Just a reroll?
That's a bonus. I'm pretty sure it adds a bonus. Let me make sure. Fabula Ultimate Trophies.
Invoking a trait. Evoke a trait allows you to reroll one or both of the dice made in the check.
Alright, yeah, reroll a dice.
Okay. I think I'll just reroll both of those.
Yeah, that's fair.
Neither one of them were particularly good. Remember,
No
I used a
whammies, no
Fabula
whammies,
point?
no whammies, no whammies.
No.
So, can we invoke bonds?
Yeah, you can invoke bonds.
Okay.
And I think that's just a flat add.
Yeah, so since I have 2 with Bright Eyes, that would add 2 to it. So,
Well, it would be Bright Eyes' bond of you, wouldn't it?
Let's see here. I have
oh yeah, you're right.
affection with Edmund. I have loyalty and admiration with Charles.
Just like
Charles could be.
check. Can we like roll?
I think there's like it is allowed for you guys to do like a help out action.
Yeah, that's it.
I'm gonna allow that. I'm gonna say that like I'm not sure like if mechanically you're allowed to do that post fact, but I feel like story wise it doesn't make sense that you guys could like see Bright Eyes doing some crazy shit and be like, we're gonna help.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yes.
Allies who are bonded
Charles
with PC
instinctively would.
making the check can also invoke their bond after the dice are rolled. So if
Yeah.
I can't succeed on my own, somebody can spend a Fabula point and help me do that.
Yeah, I have 2 points of bond with Bright Eyes too.
And you all have Fabula points for days, so let's get this shit
Yep.
done.
Yes.
All right. So, what do we roll the same as her?
Depends on how you're trying to help her out. You could theoretically do something else that's helpful that you know it aids in her not getting eaten by a Chimera.
So Charles has a dumb idea.
Mm-hmm.
He wants to intercept, like when it comes racing around the boulder after Bright Eyes. He wants to step in and just backhand the middle snout with the shield.
Okay.
Like, no, bad kitty.
Fuck yeah. Might plus dexterity.
Let's see if that was something that's already there. Okay. Might and dexterity? I'm good at that, I think. At least with Mike. 11. Almost doubles.
Okay. So I'm running around this rock and coming up like here.
Yeah, okay, and then Charles just comes in and bashes one of the heads. I'm gonna say the goat head. The poor goat head gets knocked. And at which point the Chimera immediately cowers, as if it has spent its entire life being fed and never expected resistance before.
Oh,
And it backs away with utter shame and terror on its three faces, showing
not
deference
Charles
to
got
you,
killed.
Charles.
and Charles saying that just kind of, he has no like ability like Mont Blanc or Bright Eyes, but he's just like kind of. I guess it wouldn't be the first time he's encountered, startled animals being a farmer. Oh, but
Keep going.
he would try to, reassure it that he meant. It was more like a chastising thing, not like I'm going to hurt you kind of thing.
It nonetheless it folds its wings up. It keeps its heads lowered. It's showing submission, and the fact that you're not pursuing it makes it feel like you have accepted that, and it's just going to very timidly stay in its corner for now on.
And then Charles will look to Mont Blanc and is like, "Can you tell it that it'll be fine if it doesn't try eating any more people?"
Sure, I can. And he looks to the dragon head of the three, because, well, we've been told dragons are smarter, and goes, as long as you don't eat any more people, and you stay relatively here, quote unquote, you should be fine.
Three heads respond in different animal noises, or in dragon tongue for the dragon head. Okay.
And he leans and whispers, "Don't worry, we're trying to figure a way to get you guys out of here."
And the heads look around, they're like, into the swamp? Because that's what it sees immediately in front of it.
And Mont Blanc will point up and above to the world around, a world above you.
And they look at you like they have no idea what the fuck you're talking about.
Oh, we're gonna blow this thing's triple mind.
All I ask is you trust us, which is big to ask, but we will make sure that you will be able to use your wings truly and freely.
And the Chimera doesn't fully understand what you're getting at, but it sounds appealing. And it doesn't quite smile, given the facial anatomy of lions and goats, but it looks happy.
Mont Blanc nods and goes, "Okay, cool. So, pointing over, that's a problem."
And Peter Hammerschmidt goes to Clara and says, "Ah, my dear, I'm so glad you're alive. Now we don't need to worry about finding Ranzicor. We just have to get downstairs to the control room, and everything will be all right." Clara looks around at all the large blood smears and the horrible things she saw in the dark, and looks at Peter and is like, I'm quitting. I'm quitting this job. Nonsense, my dear. The money's too good. I don't think it is. Well, let's discuss that closer to this swamp, shall we? And he steps in, at which point he and you notice that the Hydra's up and active in the swamp. And it's currently snapping at something on one of the little islands in the water. You hear the sound of something striking back at the heads each time they come in. And eventually, as you look around, you see that on the island there are two noblewomen, and between them and the Hydra, Sir George Garston, with his spear, doing his best to keep the Hydra away from them. Which is hard, because the thing has 3 fucking heads.
Bright Eyes is gonna really quickly reach out and grab Clara's hand and tug her away from the swamp. Go, it's safe upstairs. You'll be all right if you go.
Just be careful
Stick
to
with the
catch level
Hooga.
pass.
Yeah, stick to the Hooga.
She nods and she runs upstairs, and Peter's like, wait! Damn it, we need it! Now we have to find Ranzikor. Ah, well, let's go. And he begins, like, walking away around the Hydra, completely not caring about the women on the island.
Okay.
Hey, we gotta stop this.
We're-
And he sees that you guys are not following him, and he runs to join you because you're his protection.
Should we help George and attack from behind?
The Hydra is is mired in the swamp, and I should be able to freeze it. And he's gonna lean into you, Charles, and like, this would be an opportunity to, get her out of here.
Mm-hmm.
But we need her to teleport everything else away. She can do that, right?
Mont Blanc
Charles
turns.
like shrugs as he looks back. I don't know if it was her that teleported me in the first place, but alas.
Yeah, we don't have an answer for that, so we have to operate like that's not an avenue. In the meantime, what's the best way to get a Hydra's attention? Can I turn around and like, excuse me, sir, Mr. Three Heads, over here, please.
One head turns and looks at you when you say Mr. Freeheads.
That was more successful than I anticipated.
And it says in hissing Draconic Bretonche, Mrs.
Oh.
Oh, Mrs., my apologies. I should have known.
Yeah,
Um,
asshole.
Wait, so
Sorry.
it's speaking in Britannic?
Draconic Bretonche. So
Okay.
the dragon speak of Bretonche dragons. They have their own
Yeah, they were
dialects
just
too.
really-
It's not D&D. They've got their own languages.
Yeah. No, I just misheard, so I just was like, wait, it's speaking like human language? Just look at Irishman and just like, thief?
Not quite yet.
Is there any way we could potentially persuade you to not eat Sir Garston? He's not quite as tasty as he looks. The spiky one.
The George?
The George, yes.
The George is dangerous.
Yes.
George took us from our home.
Yes. And like, the George is also as trapped here as you are. We're trying to find a way to get everybody out of here in relatively one piece.
The George is trapped?
George is trapped.
And the head stops and thinks about that for a moment, and then hisses in the ear of the middle head, and the middle head looks at it like it's fucking crazy, and the two hiss for a moment while the right head is fighting George alone and looking increasingly frustrated, like, what the fuck, guys? This is way harder with just one head. He's really good. And the other two heads motion for it to stop, and they pull back, and George like huffs and pants and waits to see what the hell this is leading to. At which point he notices you guys are there,
Mont Blanc waves.
and you see the Dragon Slayer like heave a very relieved sigh. Especially when the Hydra slips down beneath the water, and lies at the bottom of the swamp, peacefully. At which point George says, "Can you catch?" as he points to the two women who don't quite gather what he's saying.
No. Charles
Ed-
is turned away.
Edmund.
You can't help.
Edmund,
All right.
time to be a brave knight, buddy.
All right, I'm going to be nice and let this be double might for you. Is that cool, Edmund?
Chivalry
George.
time.
George Garston lifts both of the women up, and they go, "Woo!" And he fastball specials them to you.
The ooh might have been them getting stabbed by his armor.
See, that's why he's throwing them rather than carrying them, because he can't carry them without stabbing them.
That's the same roll I had. 6 and a 5.
Okay, so Edmund, you do manage to catch both ladies, who look like they might have enjoyed that a little more than they probably should have. You set them down, and they're like, "Thank you, sir." I don't know why I decided to do a falsetto for that, but okay.
Just don't mention it. Just get upstairs. It's safer up there.
And they smile, and one of them gives you a fucking handkerchief, and they run upstairs.
Edmund, my boy.
I'm gonna assume it's the one in yellow.
That would scan, wouldn't it? And then
It's
George,
appropriate that the knight catches the damsels in distress.
and then George, very with taking a moment to be precise about his aiming, jumps over the swamp next to you guys, lands with just a little buckling of his knees. Ugh, not as spry as I used to be. Oh God, we're in a whole heap of shit.
Yes. So far, we have seen 1, 2, 3 fatalities, and the Catoblepis is upstairs munching on the Bonacon. So far, other than that, everything seems to be going okay. We don't know where the cockatrices are. We don't know where the basilisks are.
You know, those are small potatoes when we've got dragons up here and downstairs.
In the long run, yes.
Don't worry, George. Now that we've got you, everything's going to be scot-free. Pretty sure that's not what that expression means.
It's not, but don't worry about it.
I think Scott was one of the guards that got eaten.
I forgot to count the guards.
God, that's a wonderfully dark joke, and now canon.
We are now technically scot-free.
As this goes on, before we dive into George Garson's full reaction to his utter chicanery, Charles, everyone else is distracted. You are alone with the Sphinx.
And he'll look up and kind of unsling the barrel he always carries with him and just... I'm still continuing my quest.
She nods.
Not expecting to see you here as well.
I was not expecting this reunion to be so pleasant. I thought you might be more reproachful.
I mean, I was upset, yes, for a time, but kind of looks back, sees them dealing with flying damsels, and just be like, I didn't go on this trip. I wouldn't have found something that's important too. But what's important is that there are so many here that need to be free, need to be sent away.
Yes.
And you do that like you did with me. That was you.
The Sphinx looks at you. The smile is sad. I only led you astray. Where that stray path led you, that was not up to me. But I do harbor a great amount of divinity. That which the mortals call magic. I will allow you to tap into that and work wonders as the price for my freedom.
The price?
Yes, I assume you do not give it freely.
That wasn't even a consideration.
Seems the fates chose wisely then, when they picked you as one of their champions. Nevertheless, I offer some fraction of my power to you. If not for my freedom, then for forgiveness for my part in leading you astray.
Don't think of it as penance, but more as a gift that I will gladly take.
Sphinx nods as if she approves of that view. She looks at the people who have been following you, and also at just the general ruckus around. I overheard that you are sending the survivors upstairs.
It's the least chaotic, it seems.
Would you like me to safeguard them while up there?
That would be much appreciated. The Cthulhupus is hopefully sated for the moment, but it'd be useful having someone else there.
What is your plan for the prisoners?
Kind of looking back and just like very honestly, don't know yet. Gotta making this up as we go. Has been working well for us so far. Just completely honest.
She nods.
And
Odysseus.
you've never
It worked
seen
for
before.
Odysseus.
Huh. I hope to be home sooner than he was, but
You shall. Though the path will be just as perilous. I shall wait for you at the top floor. And she moves past everyone. Noticeably, like, Hammerschmidt splutters when she goes past, and she doesn't even fucking look at him. The way a cat will pointedly ignore a person when walking by. And as she passes the Chimera's tank, she stops, lingers, turns her head, catches the Chimera's glance, and without even saying a word, she continues on her path, and the Chimera meekly follows behind her. And they go upstairs.
Charles kind of wants to go talk to the Medusa.
She's a Gorgon.
Gorgon.
Hammerschmidt calling her a Medusa is one of the reasons he's an asshole.
Yeah, it'd be like calling Charles, "Oh, you're an Asterian."
Yeah.
Like, just because they were the first doesn't mean we're all named after them.
Like, I really wanted to establish this guy neither really understands nor truly cares about these creatures.
Let's go talk to the Gorgon.
Alright.
Make sure she's doing okay. She is completely blind.
We don't need to stop and check in with every single creature in my menagerie!
We do.
Peter, shut the fuck
really
up.
do.
Garston's following us along now too.
Garston is following you all along. He has a shell-shocked expression.
I'd say Mont Blanc would probably follow closer to Garston. Would be like, hey, so I called the Hydra off, which I didn't think I could do, but
This is my fault.
it's not your fault.
I helped him accomplish this.
You did. But you can help us fix it.
And like as you're walking on blood-stained cobblestones, like it's very clear this is weighing very heavily on this man.
Mm-hmm.
a man who, in your conversations with you, has established like the one thing he really cares about is protecting human lives. And he's failed spectacularly.
I don't. Oh, go ahead.
She's not gonna say a word to either one of you, but she is just going to start walking next to George, and she's going to reach over and grab his hand.
And that makes him stop in his tracks. And he looks at you. And while the visor of his helm keeps most of his face in shadow, you see just his weary eyes staring at you with immeasurable gratitude at someone showing him just the slightest bit of like humane understanding of him as a feeling person.
Yeah.
And he gives your hand a little squeeze. Says, "Careful, I'm covered in spikes."
And she nods over to where all the creatures were and goes, "So were they. They just needed somebody to reach out."
Okay.
And she's just gonna
And
squeeze his hand and keep walking.
And he turns away as if he can't like bear to meet your gaze anymore. Not out of like anger at you or anything, but out of what is very clearly a sort of shame. And he moves on in silence as you guys approach the wonderful Gorgon. I don't understand what you're trying to accomplish here, says Peter Hammerschmidt as you guys approach the snake woman.
George feels a
Charles.
really hard tightening on his hand real briefly.
Yeah, Charles very tightly grips his staff, trying not to bonk this old man over the head with it.
Barnaby, make sure he doesn't get into too much trouble.
The Gorgon is lazing about on her basking rock. Her snake heads see you approach and immediately rear up into the ready to strike position. But the rest of her remains casual. She turns her head roughly in your direction, seeing through snake eyes. And snake eyes are not actually great for most species.
Nope.
Nope. Like, Mont Blanc leans into Charles like, do you think she speaks Mediterranean? I don't speak Mediterranean. I can speak
And-
monster, but not Mediterranean.
Charles. That's a good point. Does Charles speak Mediterranean? He's from
He would.
Aesopton, which is
You definitely would, because even though Aesopton is in Bretance, it is a colony of Mediterranean deserters, and even deserters of the Mediterranean army would have had a very intense nationalist pride in their country,
definitely.
and
That's why
they would
Charles knows all these stories.
they would not only keep their culture alive, they would keep their language alive. Mediterranean probably is your first language, and Bretance your second.
Okay. And he goes, not a worry. And Charles will look in Mediterranean and say, don't worry, we are here to assist you.
And at that,
you.
her body perks up, not quite in your direction, but close to it, and the heads, like, de-agitate and begin to act less like, terrified snakes and more like curious snakes. They're all slithering over each other, they're, periscoping. And she says, "You speak my language?"
I come from Aesopton. We're a colony of Mediterra. There are people just like you, other Gorgons, where I come from.
Sisters? others of my kind?
Yes, and
Have they come to take me out of here? They took my eyes. They gouged out my eyes.
there will be blood for that, but I have come to help you.
I want blood. I want to go home.
And I am working on that. I'm going to send you and everyone else home. And but
there are
first,
others
let's see
here?
if I can help. And he'll reach out, and not knowing if this wound is too far, he'll try to cast heal. Don't know if the wound is too strong.
Okay, so you cast that, and I'm gonna say, story-wise, it's not enough to return eyeballs to a person who's had them gouged out.
Yeah, that's more of a ritual thing, perhaps.
But she has been in a listless, malnourished state, like a snake in captivity that does not like its captivity. She has been wasting away here. Her scales have not properly shed. Her body is constricted under its own skin. She's got this dull, lustrous look. When you cast heal, immediately that dead skin splits and sloughs off and reveals bright, vibrant scales beneath. Her snake hair is now a vibrant green. And is writhing more enthusiastically, more energetically, their eyes seeing unclouded for the first time in probably months, maybe even years. Her human body also returns, to a more healthy pallor. And you can just see the vitality coursing through her. And when you do this, the bandages around her eyes wet, and tears begin to streak down through them and out from underneath them down her cheeks. And she briefly waves her right hand in the air until it lands upon your shoulder, and she grips it tightly and she says, "Thank you. Thank you."
Charles pats her hand and just goes, "I wish I could do more, but if you're willing, I know that back where I come from, they would be more than willing to help you."
I will follow you. I will do what you say. And then she pulls you into a hug, Charles.
He'll return the hug.
And as she does, the questing beast, which has been watching you guys, sort of tiptoes into her tank, and slithers up beside you guys, and it slithers its own neck around her, and like a therapy dog, just lies next to her. And the two serpent chimeras basically take comfort in each other's company while you guys are free to continue exploring this wonderful floor of happiness and joy.
Charles will tell her just he'll keep you safe until I come back and help you out. There's a Sphinx here that is protecting everyone as well.
Questing Beast hears that and feels almost knowing because you don't know how intelligent this creature is, but it perks up when it hears the word Sphinx, and it nudges the Gorgon, and when she holds on to it, it begins leading her up towards the stairs as well. And
Okay,
that's
what I was hoping for.
That's several more innocent people to safety.
What a sweet little baby. I love him.
All right.
Or her.
Right path or left path, gang?
Did Shady say anything about where he dropped out?
I don't think he did, no.
No.
You just
Should we pause?
Yeah, that's what I'm kind of wondering.
Maybe have a interlude while we ask what's going on.
Right.
What's
Yeah.
Long Lincoln doing while we're doing all this?
Oh,
Ah.
no.
I must find a husband for each of my sisters. But it's so hard because these human men, so many of them are shit. Or poor. Which is not a problem in and of itself, but I want my sisters to be well off financially.
Oh God. What if Lincoln had introduced his sisters to the kobold?
Oh god. Oh, he'd feel so bad. Well, no, he'd be able to tell Cobalt to shit.
Yeah, it's just like, just immediately, just like, oh, you are a piece of shit.
Vibes are rancid.
He wants to marry them well, and part of that includes financial security, but another more important part is that they're with someone that they love who will take care of them.
It's a shame all these, the ones who learn to love monsters, they're all poor.
It is a good thing the humans have not caught on to the fact that I am not a human.
Yep, nobody
They
knows.
would surely persecute my beautiful sisters if they thought we were not normal human people.
See, you know, it'd be cute. Completely blind man marries one of them. It's like,
It was a clever thing naming myself after my species. What Long Lankin would call themselves Long Lankin? It'd be like a horse named Horse.
or a dog named Dog.
Just ridiculous. Less of a scene, really, than more just me describing myself in my character motivation.
Yes.
Well, sometimes you gotta talk to yourself, otherwise you go crazy.
I asked Shady earlier if he had BRB'd when I noticed he had muted himself, and he just said, "Nah, just listening," but he hasn't responded when I asked him just now.
I'm texting him.
Okay.
Oh god, could you imagine a Long Lincoln version of "This is not my beautiful house. It's not my beautiful wife."
Same as it ever was. 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 Water resolving. Water removing. There is water at the bottom of the ocean. Remove the water. Carry the water. Remove the water from the bottom of the ocean. Letting the days go by, water flowing underground. Letting the days go by, Long Lincoln.
I bet one of the monsters in the menagerie is humming to themselves as like kind of like elevator waiting music, just to, you know, put themselves at ease.
The Hydra likes to sing in 3-part harmony.
I love that song.
So I texted Shady. I asked if he was doing okay, and he gave me an explanation. And then I asked, should we expect you back or carry on without you? The answer was do whatever.
Maybe we should pause here for the night.
Yeah, because honestly, I'd really love Scrunt to be around for this.
Yeah, not gonna lie, I
That's
actually have
fine.
some dialogue scenes specifically for Scrunt in this little arc, so I would like Shady here.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we got about halfway through. That's pretty good.
Yeah, this was a good chunk.
Yeah,
and it ended on a emotionally poignant part.
Next time, you gotta find a wizard, get to the bottom of things, literally and figuratively, and hopefully not have more people get killed by monsters.
Including us.
Unless we're the ones killing that person.
I swear to God, I'm throwing this guy in one of these fucking tanks. If you don't stop her,
no,
she's gonna
no.
whip him right in there.
The plan is we're going to get to the Terror Tatzelworm, and we're just going to push him in.
Make sure we
Because
grab
if-
his stick first, though.
Because if
Sacrifices.
anybody deserves to eat him,
Yeah.
who will lose?
See,
We'll all see.
I'm going to hit the stop